Coach Davis wants to play fast. Is it happening?
This is Tyler Hansbrough, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Tuesday, November 12th, 2024. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Shade. You're joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks so much for making us your first listen or watch on this Tuesday. Man, it's a good day to be alive and it's a good day to be together. Special shout out to you everydayers joining us, as well as all the members of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord and our great Locked On Tar Heels insiders. Welcome in, everyone. Let's get started. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel new customers. You can place a $5 bet and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Oh man, going to be a fun show today. Here's what we got going on. I did, you know me, stats nerd research boy, a deep dive on what we've got going so far with fast break analysis, with tempo stuff for Carolina so far this year, and how that compares to the past several years. So we'll go through a bunch of stuff with that, and then what it means and what it looks like and what Carolina needs to do. We'll look at the newest AP poll and where Carolina lands in that. And, is that right? All that kind of stuff. Update on women's NCAA tournament. That bracket was released on Monday. But first, it's Tuesday, and that means it's time for Trivia Tuesday. We didn't get to it last week because of all the hubbub of the first game and responding to that. But here we go, right back to it. North Carolina, yeah, it's just 2 games in, but hear me out, is shooting 87.2% from the free throw line as a team. That is bonkers insane. Probably not going to hold up, but that's where it's at right now. So my question to you, friends, what are the top 5 single season team free throw percentages in Carolina recorded history? Answer for that coming up at the end of the show. Stick with us. Would love to hear if you get it right. All right, here we go. Tempo, fast break stuff. Let's get into it. Obviously, Coach Davis has said time and time again that a big desire for him this season is to play fast, to get out and going, get Ty Lawson going, that kind of deal. Obviously, man, if Ty Lawson was out there, you'd be going fast, but he's not. And so Carolina's got to do it other ways. I echo this. I'm in full agreement with Coach Davis. And, it's like Carolina needs to play fast, faster than they have ever under Coach Davis, in order to best utilize the skill sets and strengths that they have and what sets them apart from other teams. So if you want to do it, you got to go and you got to run. That's what we're looking at. So where are things? Through 2 games, it's only 2 games, small sample size. Hopefully it's like 1/20th of the season if Carolina makes it to the national championship game. But you do have at least a little bit of data at this point. Well, so far, so good with tempo. Per KenPom, who does a really good job, one of his categories is adjusted tempo. He's got a formula and an algorithm he uses for that. Each of the different analytics sites has their own kind of adjusted tempo formula that they use. I like his a lot. And per his metrics, per KenPom's adjusted tempo, Carolina, as I record this, what I love about KenPom is the numbers are always fluctuating as each game finishes, the new data dumps in so that we're getting more and more accurate content. But as of right now, as I record, the Tar Heels are 21st in the nation in adjusted tempo. So early returns suggest that the Tar Heels are doing what they've set out to do, that they want to do. They are right now averaging 74 possessions per 40 minutes. Again, that's using KenPom's formula. And you might be saying, 21st, that's good, but I don't know if that's like tip top of the heap. Well, here's a little extra context for you for that. Of the 20 teams ahead of Carolina right now, only 3 of them are high major teams. That's Alabama, Oklahoma State, and Arizona. Of those 3 teams, only 2 of them are top 50, and that's Alabama and Arizona. Oklahoma State is closer to 100 than 1. In fact, we can keep getting down into the nitty-gritty. Of those top 21 of which Carolina is a part, only 5 of those teams are top 100 overall at KenPom. New Mexico, who's number 1 in adjusted tempo, actually, Oklahoma State, Alabama, Arizona, and the Tar Heels. That's it. Those 5 are the only top 100 teams overall in this top 21 of adjusted tempo. In fact, if you want to spread it out to the top 150, you only add one more team. That's Western Kentucky. So that means, the reason I say that means that Carolina of the elite high-level teams is one of just a few of the elite so far in this young season in terms of adjusted tempo. And you know, Carolina's in that top 20-ish kind of range, or 21st right now, meaning that really of the teams that are really, really super duper good, only Carolina, Alabama, and Arizona are playing at this pace. Now, others purposely choose not to, and that's fine and well and good. But Carolina so far is doing what they want and operating analytically at the top of the sport. That's good news. But it's also helpful to note that not only have they been doing it at that pace, but they've been doing it under control. Carolina's turnover percentage, meaning the number of possessions on which the possession ends with a turnover, is sitting at 11.2%. And maybe you don't have the frame of reference. Like, is that good? Is that bad? Well, right now it's 18th best in the country out of 364 teams. So yeah, it's very good. So playing fast and under control, that's deadly. You know, what I didn't look at was Alabama, and if they are playing that under control as well. Where's their turnover percentage? Yeah, they're 16.4%, 130th in the nation. So they're not doing it at the same level the Tar Heels are. And who was that other Arizona? Let's see what their turnover percentage is. 12.3, 37. So pretty good, but not as good as the Tar Heels. So I think that's another feather in Carolina's cap, is that not only are they one of 3 elite teams playing at such a fast pace, but they have a lower turnover percentage than the other 2. That is a good equation and something that we're going to need to keep tabs on throughout the season. It's helpful to note that I think a lot of that is due to having this 3G lineup. I've been calling it the 3-guard starting lineup of Elliot, Cadeau, RJ Davis, and Seth Trimble. That helps in a big, big way. So that is the tempo adjusted numbers. What about the fast break, just raw data and how Carolina's doing? And then what are the observations that come along with that? Great question. That's exactly where we're going to go next. And we'll do that in just a second. Right after I tell you about Roy. Hey, Locked On Tar Heel fans, listen up. You need to download the Roy app right now. You've heard us talk about Roy this football season and how they're revolutionizing the NIL industry. Roy allows you, the fan, to have a say in who gets the NIL money. And part of what I really, really love about Roy is that you get your money back if the player transfers. Roy is helping us keep our team intact at North Carolina, and it's actually a good thing for the game long term. I mean, you've seen it this year. We've given out this weekly award to guys like Omarion Hampton for some of his ridiculous performances, or Jacoby Criswell stepping in and having some big moments himself. So you can show your support for any of those guys and today's pick, who we're going to mention in just a second. To do that, download the Roy app, see what the logo looks like if you're watching there on YouTube, or just go to joinroy.com. Now, let's spotlight today's Roy Locked On Player of the Week for the Tar Heels. You know who it is? Willie Lampkin, offensive guard. If you're not all in, you might not know the name because you only know the skill position guys. But listen to this. Willie Lampkin, Carolina's diminutive 5'11", 290-pound guard, is the highest rated guard in the nation in all of the Power 4 conferences, according to PFF. He hasn't allowed a pressure since week 5 and has 4 straight games with a 100% pass blocking efficiency rate. Willie Lampkin, how about that? Carolina has the best rated guard of all of the Power Conference teams in America right now. That's great stuff. So we're going to throw some money into his account on Roy. Every contribution matters. 10, 20 bucks, whatever. It all adds up and helps your favorite players stay put. Of course, with Willie specifically, this is his last year, man, so we got to take care of him while we can. Join me. Let's show some love to Willie Lampkin. Download the Roy app or go to joinroy.com today. Use promo code LOCKEDON. Every athlete from every team is there. No purchase necessary. It's void where prohibited. Go to joinroy.com for full terms. Roy, Support the players, change the game. Okay, so we've just been looking at adjusted tempo, how many possessions Carolina is getting per 40 minutes, and then the great job they're doing of holding onto the ball even while playing at such a rate. That is really encouraging to me. Now, I want to transition and look at just the raw data of the fast break stuff, like what's actually happening. Well, again, you know me, stats nerd. I went and did a deep dive on all the raw fast break numbers for Carolina, going back to the last year of Roy Williams. I wanted all the data from the Hubert Davis era and at least 1 year of Roy Williams. I want to get further out on it, but just for now, I wanted to at least get this for our discussion here today. By the way, if you're a Locked On Tar Heels insider, all of that data, all of the charts that I made for that are available on our Locked On Tar Heels Insiders Google Drive. You can find it all there. If you're interested in seeing that, man, come on, join the Locked On Tar Heels Insiders. Links in the show notes. Check it out. But what I did was I charted all the fast break points for every game from the last year of the Roy Williams era, the 2020-21 season, up through the present. So that's four seasons plus 2 games this year. What I did was I went game by game. How many fast break points did Carolina have in that game? How many total points did Carolina have in that game? And then what was the percentage of fast break points, out of Carolina's total points? And then I set my Google Sheet to tabulate what that was. Same thing season long. Total points, total fast break points for the season, total points for Carolina for the season, and then what that percentage was. I think it's really instructive to be able to look at some of that. While, yes, it's raw and it's not tempo-free data, it is helpful to be able to look at. So, again, I want to go back and add more, but we're at where we're at right now. So here are my observations from having done that data. Let me give you the total so far this season. Carolina got 18 fast break points against Elon, 17 fast break points against Kansas. That's 35 combined through 2 games, which is the highest through the first 2 games of the season of the years I looked at, 5 total years. In fact, last year was the only other year of the years I researched with 2 double-digit fast break point outputs to start the season, the first 2 games of the season. But it ended there. So if Carolina is able to get double-digit fast break points against American on Friday, that's a new thing in the Hubert Davis era. Percentage-wise this season, because this is a little more instructive about not just the raw numbers, but what percentage of your points are coming from fast break. Well, in that Elon game, it was 20% of Carolina's points, and in the Kansas game, it was 19.1% of the points. Those are the 2 highest percentages of the first 2 games of the season from the years I looked at. So even that like 19.1 against Kansas would be the highest were it not for the 20% against Elon. So again, off to a very encouraging start here. Here's another thing. As you look at the season-long percentages, each of the 4 years of the Hubert Davis era, the fast break percentage has gone up. Year 1, 21-22, 11.72%. 22-23, 12.17%. Last year, a much bigger jump up to 15.4%. And so far on this young season, 19.55%. So hovering right about 1 out of every 5 points for Carolina is a fast break point. That's where it's sitting. So one of the things we got to recognize is part of the deal here is that if you want to get these points, if you want to play fast, your opponents have to play along. Right? Like they've got to be willing to go with you. Interestingly, neither of the opponents Carolina has played so far is in the top 90 in adjusted tempo at KenPom. And like Elon 197, Kansas 93, but it's going to get slower from here. Of the next 3 opponents, all 3 of them are sub 300 in adjusted tempo. American, this Friday's opponent, is 362. Hawaii, next Friday's opponent, as Carolina heads out to Maui, is 310. And then Dayton, the first Maui team, is 302. So that'll be interesting to watch. How is Carolina able to speed up teams that, to this point in the young season, are not playing as fast? Can they do it when the other team, they're not going to be like Virginia snails pace slow, but can you run and get these fast break points even when the opponent is not wanting to run with you? So keep your eyes out for that. We've already talked about the 3G starting lineup. You've got Elliot, Cadeau, you've got RJ Davis, you've got Seth Trimble, all of whom are more than capable of starting the break, getting out, and going, and that's encouraging. Also, both freshmen, Ian Jackson, Drake Powell, man, they can take it and go pitch ahead or just lead the break, whatever it is. I think Cade Tyson is going to be able to do that a little. Secondly, part of what works really well for this is you have multiple players who are great finishers, whether that's like guards getting to the rim and finishing through contact or getting fouled or whatever that may be, or guys, whether the guards like Seth Trimble or the bigs who aren't really lumbering, who can get out and run and be dunkers. That's helpful in this endeavor as well. So Carolina has guys that can lead these fast break opportunities, and they've also got guys who can finish these fast break opportunities, because that's part of it too. It's one thing to just get the run out. It's another thing to complete it. So that's a thing. Those things observed, where do we go from here? Great question. Well, the key now, number one, you got to keep doing it. Don't let these next couple slow teams slow you down. Keep this tempo, keep this pace going. Because part of it is for Carolina to be successful this season, they frankly have to do this. They've got to steal several easy buckets this season because Carolina is not quite as set up to score as effectively or efficiently in the half court. There are methods and modes to do that. We're actually going to talk some about that later this week. But Carolina, with not having an Armando Bacot who you can just dump it into and say, go to work, big fella, have fun, needs to score more regularly this season before the defense is set. So that's a key. Keep doing it. Don't let people slow you up because you need it. And again, as I said earlier, Carolina is looking to start off 3 straight games to start the season with double-digit fast break points, which would be the first time in the Hubert Davis era to do that. So if the key is to keep doing it, the question then is, well, how was that accomplished? Well, number one, you know what? Runouts happen after you get live ball turnovers. So that means Carolina needs to be very active defensively. 11 steals in the first game of the season. Those are the kind of things, especially of the live ball variety, that can lead to these opportunities to get quick, fast points doing those things that you need. So defense literally feeds the offense with this and feeds the type of offense that we're looking for. So how is it accomplished? You are active defensively. You have active hands defensively. You are looking for deflections and just getting the ball out and going. And it's not just on turnovers. You can get fast break points other ways. It's quick outlets. It's when the other team scores. You know how Carolina is famous for when another team scores, getting the ball out of the basket as quick as you can and getting back up court and scoring in 4 or 5 seconds or whatever. All of these are ways that Carolina can really, really lean into playing fast and scoring fast. Will it continue? We don't know yet. But I firmly and fully believe that for Carolina to reach their ceiling and be as successful as they want to, they're going to have to continue to do it and not allow other teams to slow them down. So we'll see how that goes as Carolina plays on Friday. Again, as a reminder, a sub 300 team in adjusted tempo. Can Carolina speed them up, play at the pace they want, get the possessions they want, score the amount of points they want, and do so in a fast break mentality? We'll watch for that Friday. Next in our conversation today, the newest AP poll came out on Monday right around lunchtime. Give you an update on that. We will look at our Tuesday trivia answer and an update on the women's soccer NCAA tournament where Carolina found their spot on Monday. All that coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about FanDuel. Folks, get ready to tackle NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers, you can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets back if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL, all right there in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out live stats, play-by-play, all of that right there in that same place where you place your bets on that page. That's great. How about some odds from FanDuel to reach the Final Four this year? Y'all, I don't like what I'm seeing right now, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. Duke leads the way at plus 175. Then you got 6 teams tied right now with the second best odds to reach the Final Four. UConn, Bama, Gonzaga, Auburn, Kansas, Houston, all tied at plus 220. Sorry, guys, only 4 teams can actually make it, so that's funny. careful who you bet on, right? Iowa State plus 340, Arizona plus 500, and then comes Carolina 7, 8, 9, 10th best odds at plus 650. So if you want to get in on that action or anything else you can find at FanDuel, there's all sorts of great stuff over there. Go check it all out right now at FanDuel.com. You'll get started again with $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. So never waste a hunch and go make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. New AP poll dropped on Monday afternoon. No surprise, Kansas stays number 1 overall after knocking off Carolina at home on Friday evening. But the big question for the Tar Heels obviously was going to be, how far will the Tar Heels fall in the AP poll, where they started off the preseason number 9, had obviously won their first game, but then lost at Kansas. Here's something I always fear with the AP voters. Like, analytics doesn't always punish you for quality losses. They recognize setting and team, for example, playing true road game at the number 1 team in the nation. The computers do a good job of recognizing what that means and the context of it all, while the human voters often don't. They say, oh, you lost. I guess we're going to have to drop you. Well, guess what? If your rankings are right, AP voter, Carolina should lose to the number 1 team if they're the number 9 team, especially when they're on the road. And so that means to me, like, I don't drop them, or at least not very far. So I don't have to tell you, I was so pleasantly surprised when the poll came out and the Tar Heels were still number 10. I think it's fair and fine to drop them a spot after having lost. But I thought it would be a little more precipitous than that. I thought we'd see the AP voters put Carolina down, like maybe into the teens somewhere. So I'm not disappointed in that at all. I feel very good about where Carolina landed, actually. And Carolina in the coaches poll moves 1 spot down to 11. So we see that there. So I feel good. I feel comfortable with being in the AP poll right there. And obviously, all it is just a poll. All it is just a talking point. But there we go. Here's what is a little bit troubling to me right now. Outside of Carolina, here's the other ACC schools that are in the poll. Duke, 6. I'm being quiet, not because my internet went out, but because there's nobody else on the list from the ACC. That's it. Duke and Carolina are the only 2 ACC teams ranked currently in the top 25 of the AP poll. There are a couple in others receiving votes. Wake Forest is 28th. I really thought they might have snuck into the back end of this poll after that win over Michigan, which I think is going to hold water this season, the win they had on Sunday afternoon. Miami, Clemson are also in others receiving votes, but much farther down, and I didn't feel like counting it because they don't number those by what ranking they would actually be. But that's it. Just those 5 teams are the only ones receiving votes right now: Carolina, Duke, Wake, Miami, and Clemson. That's discouraging to me, and we need to see things step up. Obviously, the conference has already lost some big games. I mentioned Wake beating Michigan, but outside of that, Louisville got smoked by Tennessee this weekend. Georgia Tech just lost in North Florida. Boston College took a loss. There's all sorts of stuff like this. It's like, you guys, you are not helping the conference by what you're doing, and the national media are still going to continue to rail, and it's so frustrating, and that's where we're at. In terms of Carolina's opponents or potential opponents showing up on the AP poll, obviously Kansas is number 1, and I just went chronologically through the list looking at it, so it's not in chronological order of when Carolina plays them. But Carolina will also play number 2 in the poll, Alabama, so kind of guaranteed on both of those games. They might play number 3 in the current poll. That's UConn. They are also in the Maui Invitational, but on the other side of the bracket. So everything would have to go a certain way for Carolina and UConn to match up there. But in the second round, Carolina will definitely play another top 10 team, because it will either be Auburn or Iowa State. Auburn right now is 5th. Iowa State is 7th. So it's possible that by the time Carolina hosts Alabama, it is possible that they will have played 4 of the other top 10 teams in the nation. And that's ludicrous. That's insane, but I love it. That's what Carolina basketball is all about. And so kudos to the staff. And some of it is just how things fall, right? Like those teams being good and the Maui field being great. And so that is what it is. Beyond that, Carolina will play Florida in the Jumpman Invitational. They're currently ranked 20th. Carolina will play UCLA in the CBS Sports Classic. Unfortunately, UCLA just lost this weekend and so has dropped out of the AP Top 25. So there you go. There's your AP Top 25 update. Before we go to the women's soccer stuff, I want to go ahead and do our Tuesday trivia answer right now. You ready for it? As a reminder, the question: Carolina is currently shooting 87.2% as a team from the charity stripe. What are the 5 single season highest percentages in Carolina history? Let's go 5 all the way up to 1. The 5th place, the 5th highest free throw team percentage Carolina's ever had, 75.8. That was in the 1959-1960 season, so a minute ago. 4th on this list was last season. Carolina shot 75.9%. Now, here's the key, though, with that one. That was also the most attempts on this list, 842. By almost 100 attempts, that's the most on this list. So the fact that there was such a high volume and Carolina still shot the 4th highest free throw percentage in program history, that's incredible. Way to go, Tar Heels of last year. You guys are great. 3rd on this list, 84-85 at 76.1. 2nd on this list, 21-22 season, the first year of the Hubert Davis era, Carolina shot 76.4%, and then a massive leap, almost 2 whole percentage points up to the highest team free throw percentage in Carolina history, 1983-84. So this encompasses my birthday. I was born January of 84. The Tar Heels shot 78.3% as a team from the charity stripe. That is wowie, wowie, wowie. So again, right now, Carolina's shooting 87.2%. That's not going to hold up. It's just the way math works. We're going to regress to the mean sum eventually. But honestly, the biggest thing I noticed is that 2 of the 5 highest free throw percentages, team percentages in Carolina history are Hubert Davis teams. The first team of the Hubert Davis era and last year, with only the year they didn't go to the NCAA tournament in between. I think there is something of that is coincidental, but not entirely, perhaps not so coincidentally. The year they missed, they were down at 74.2%. That might sound like not a massive drop off, but it really is. When you look at the small amount of separation that there is between some of the best free throw shooting teams and worst free throw shooting teams in the nation. So hopefully Carolina can hang out around that top 5 again this year, maybe hop right into that. Okay, very quickly, women's soccer NCAA tournament bracket update. Carolina is obviously in the field. They are the only program in the country to appear in every NCAA tournament of women's soccer. 43 of them now, to be exact. And this is the quest for the 23rd national championship. Carolina has won 21 of the 42 NCAA tournament titles ever. No other team, for frame of reference, has more than 3. Carolina has beaten the next highest team by a multiple of 7. Insane. And then they've been the national runner-up 6 other times, most recently 2022 when they were robbed, by the way, by the refs, but I don't want to get all hot and bothered, so we won't talk about that. And then the 22nd championship that Carolina holds is the AIAW National Championship in 1981, the year before the NCAA tournament started. So, again, if you weren't quite sure how dominant this team is, there you go. That is some of it. So Carolina, let's not bury the lead any further, is the 2 seed in one of the brackets. Unfortunately, they're in Florida State's bracket, who they just lost the ACC championship to. But boy, what a rematch that would be in the Elite 8. That would be a lot of fun. And the ACC in its entirety has put a ton of teams right at the top of this bracket. 7 of the top 16 teams. 2 1 seeds, Duke and Florida State. 2 2s, Carolina and Wake. A 3 seed, Stanford. Yes, they're in ACC, remember. And then 2 4 seeds, Virginia and Notre Dame. So way to go, ACC, operating at the highest level of the sport. Here's the details of the first game for the Tar Heels. First round is Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern. Carolina hosting USC Upstate. And by hosting, I mean they're playing at Dorrance Field. That's great. And then the winner will play the winner of BYU, the 7th seed in the bracket, and Santa Clara. Please let Carolina win and let them play BYU so they can get some sweet revenge for BYU knocking the Tar Heels out last year. I'm still not over that. So there you go. Great updates. Carolina really getting into that championship portion of the fall semester, and that's great to see. You guys, it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. If you haven't subscribed to the show on video and audio, make sure you do that because you don't want to miss a second of Locked On Tar Heels. We have a great time here week in and week out, day in and day out. Come join us. If you're not part of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, you friends are missing out. Come for the Tar Heels, stay for the community. Links in the show notes, 100% free to join. We'd love to have you. We have great chats in there every day about Tar Heels and life and everything in between. Also, if you want to go even deeper with our program, join the Locked On Tar Heels Insider Program, where, as I said earlier, you get free access to all of my stats and charts and record books and other data, but you also have the opportunity to text me one-on-one. It's a great way to be super involved in the show and to help support it as well. So if you're interested in that, that link is also in the show notes. Ow, I just banged my knuckles on my table, and it hurts very bad. I'm probably going to go have to tend to that as I say peace. I already said it, I'll say it again. It's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll talk again tomorrow on Wednesday, but until then, peace.